you a businessman? How many excuses? How many times? No, it's different. No, you know what's the difference? Look at this.
Gucci Mane got hit in a wild situation, robbed at gunpoint by someone from his own circle, and people started saying he pointed fingers at everybody involved. Meanwhile, 6ix9ine, he stepped out of prison and flipped the whole moment into a non-stop victory lap, dragging Gucci every single day like it was part of his routine. Now Gucci's clapping back, and what he's saying, it's hitting hard enough to leave 6ix9ine looking stuck with no response. Let's get into it.
Give me everything. I want everything. Take this out your ears.
6ix9ine didn't stay quiet for a second. He jumped straight onto the Adin Ross stream and went crazy on Instagram, ranting like he had 5 years worth of words built up. When 6ix9ine got out in early April 2026, the timing was wild. Federal charges had just dropped on Pooh Shiesty and 8 others, and the whole internet was already on fire.
All right, so now y'all believe me? I've been literally saying this 5 years. I'm about to break it down for you.
Just 2 days before, the DOJ press conference had everybody locked in, talking non-stop. The details were loud. A K-style pistols, a Draco, talk of a forced contract signing, and even a stolen Rolex. 9 guys from Memphis pulling up to a Dallas studio like it was a movie scene. 6ix9ine had been locked up through all of it, watching from the sidelines. But now he was free. And this moment, it lined up perfectly with everything he'd been saying for years.
What's the name of that song?
Sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry. Laugh now, cry later.
So who's laughing now? Who's laughing now and crying later?
First thing he did on Instagram, he started clowning the whole robbery situation. He broke it down piece by piece, clips, audio, his own commentary, painting a picture of Gucci's night like it was a replay you couldn't ignore. The way he told it, the irony was just too wild, and he made sure everybody saw it his way. That moment right there, that was 6ix9ine going all in, replaying the situation step by step, dramatizing what allegedly went down with Gucci Mane like it was a full scene-by-scene breakdown.
Give me everything. I want everything. Take this out your ears.
He painted the picture of that night, claiming Gucci was pressed by his own artist with a Draco involved, and he made sure every detail hit loud. And he didn't stop there. This was the center of his whole argument. He kept saying what happened to Gucci was street, the exact type of outcome people in hip-hop told him he should have accepted back in the day. He took it further by bringing up 2018 when the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods came after him. On April 6th, he jumped on Adin Ross's Kick livestream and started breaking everything down with the energy of someone who had been waiting years to say it out loud. Earlier in the stream, he was even vibing to Pooh Shiesty tracks, but then the whole mood flipped fast. Suddenly, it turned into something way more serious. He switched gears and basically gave a full breakdown of how federal cases work, aiming it straight at the culture.
I ain't dropped my location. I ain't got to relocate because my car here. I ain't snitched on nobody.
He explained how the Department of Justice moves, how federal charges aren't the same as state cases, and how once the U.S. Marshals get involved, it's not just a situation, it's the United States versus you. He pointed out that the federal conviction rate sits around 98%, saying it's because they only bring cases they've already built solid. He brought up examples too, mentioning El Chapo and even his own 2018 9 Trey case to show how serious it gets. Then he circled back to Gucci, saying, Gucci Mane will get subpoenaed. He will have to testify, and if he denies it, he has to do time. You have to. That's a subpoena by the federal government.
Give me this. Oh, this your wedding ring? Let me get that shit. They pulled up on streets.
He explained that even if Gucci wanted to stay quiet, a federal subpoena doesn't give you that choice. Refusing it, he said, could turn into obstruction of justice, making things even worse. Then he added another layer, saying, Pooh Shiesty, even if he somehow beat certain charges, could still be facing federal issues just for contact with law enforcement while on home confinement. He pointed out that a prior firearms case from the Southern District of Florida already had him under federal supervision, meaning every move counted. He even threw out a prediction, saying that violation alone could mean anywhere from 0 to 5 years. Then he hit what became the most talked about line in this whole situation, laughing in a way that sounded like he'd been holding it in for 5 years straight. When Gucci dropped Crash Dummy on April 10th, 6ix9ine wasted no time. He jumped straight onto Instagram and started digging up receipts. He pulled up Gucci's 2018 post, "Good morning, rule 1, never snitch," and lined it up right next to the lyrics from the new track. Then he took it even further. He posted a video of himself throwing stacks of cash at a photo of Gucci Mane and captioned it,
"All these niggas that talk been saying for 5 years."
"Why you always got to say something? I am the only person that can speak on this every time y'all blackballed me and try to take food from my family's mouth when y'all knew all the facts. For 5 years, I exposed the rap game, but because I'm not black, I get a different treatment. Suck my!" In the rant that came with it, he doubled down on everything he's been saying since walking out of federal court back in 2019. He played clips of Gucci's old anti-snitch statements, then snapped straight to the point. What is the difference? And right after that, he answered his own question. No hesitation, no pause. All themes. Now here's what really matters in all of this. 6ix9ine's whole campaign isn't about some deep personal feud with Gucci Mane. It never was. There's barely any history between them. Back in 2021, 6ix9ine tried to troll Gucci when Pooh Shiesty got denied bond in a Miami case and Gucci didn't even respond. Then in 2022, while 6ix9ine was locked up on a probation issue, Gucci actually showed a bit of support, telling him to keep his head up, something 6ix9ine didn't forget. Gucci Mane wasn't really the target in all this. He became the symbol. The example 6ix9ine kept pointing at to argue that the no snitch code in rap was never solid like people claim. He kept saying it was always selective, always based on feelings instead of facts, and always had a limit nobody wanted to admit out loud. This whole situation turned into a 5-year argument playing out in real time, right in front of everybody watching. But to really get why everything exploded like this, you've got to rewind to the beginning. The timeline that set 6ix9ine up with the exact moment he had been waiting for. It starts on January 10th, 2026. Gucci Mane, born Roderick Delonte Davis, head of 1017 Records, flies into Dallas, Texas, thinking he's walking into a regular business meeting with his artist Pootie Pootie. Pootie, whose real name is Rel Darnell Williams Jr., had been signed to 1017 since around 2020 and was seen as one of the key faces of the label. He wasn't just another artist either. He had real motion. His track Back in Blood with Lil Durk helped put him on the map and made him one of the standout names tied to Gucci's brand. But by late 2024, Gucci had already trimmed down his roster heavy, keeping only a couple of artists close while letting the rest go. Now, before getting into what actually happened inside that Dallas studio, there's something bigger to understand. What Gucci Mane represented to people, and why this moment hit so different.
Whether it's Gucci Mane or listen, I've learned that everybody who's talking about me has an opinion till they're in your situation.
Because Gucci wasn't just any rapper in this conversation. He had spent over 2 decades building an image that stood on one thing, never cooperating, never folding under pressure. The version of Gucci that landed in Dallas carried that reputation everywhere he went. He had even said it directly before, aiming straight at 6ix9ine. I ain't dropped my location. I ain't gotta relocate cause my car here, I ain't snitched on nobody. That line wasn't subtle. It was a clear shot. Everyone knew 6ix9ine had to move differently after his own legal situation made him a target, and Gucci made sure to highlight that difference loud and clear. He wasn't speaking vaguely or trying to play both sides. He stood firm on it. This was someone who had faced federal time, came out, and built himself into one of the main faces of that anti-snitch image in the trap era. So whenever 6ix9ine's name came up, Gucci didn't dodge it. He spoke on it from real experience, and people listened because of what he had already lived through. That was the version of Gucci Mane stepping into Dallas on January 10th, 2026. A man who talked about snitching like it was nothing new, nothing shocking. He wasn't surprised by it, didn't act confused. He treated it like part of the game and positioned himself as someone who already understood how things go. But what actually happened that night? According to federal authorities, it wasn't just talk. It turned into a serious criminal case. The 32-page FBI complaint filed on March 30th, 2026, laid everything out. It claimed that Pooh Shiesty and 8 others, including his father, Trell Williams Sr., and rapper Big 30, Rodney Wright Jr., carried out a coordinated armed takeover of a Dallas recording studio. According to the report, Shiesty pulled out an AK-style pistol and forced Gucci Mane to sign contract release papers at gunpoint. Big 30 allegedly recorded the moment on a cell phone, while Williams Sr. pushed for the document to be officially dated right there on the spot. And it didn't stop there. Investigators say others in the group were robbing people inside the control room at the same time. Rolexes, cash, jewelry, even a Louis Vuitton bag all taken. One person was reportedly choked until they were nearly unconscious, turning the whole situation even more intense. That same night, Gucci Mane and people with him gave statements to Dallas police, identifying suspects by name, clothing, and even Instagram handles. From there, the FBI spent the next 3 months building a detailed case. They pulled together cell phone records, surveillance footage, rental car data, and even ankle monitor tracking, placing 6ix9ine at the studio despite being under home confinement. There were fingerprints found on red Solo cups, and Apple AirTags reportedly traced stolen jewelry to locations in Plano and Frisco. It got even tighter. Investigators pointed to social media posts from the suspects themselves, showing off stolen Rolexes and a 1017 chain just hours after the incident. By April 1st, 2026, 8 of the 9 suspects had been arrested across Dallas, Memphis, and Nashville. U.S. Attorney Ryan Raybould described the situation as a coordinated armed takeover, making it clear this wasn't just some business disagreement.
Gucci Mane is the boogeyman of hip-hop. He is the boogeyman. And instead of boo, he says brr. And when he says brr, everybody jumps.
So this is before the ice cream cone test.
Then on April 8th, 6ix9ine was denied bond and ordered held without bail, with the judge pointing to the strength of the evidence, concerns about flight risk, and violations tied to his home confinement. Right in the middle of all that chaos, on April 6th, between the arrests and the bond decision, 6ix9ine jumped onto Aiden Ross's stream and stepped straight into the spotlight. By April 10th, Gucci dropped Crash Dummy and the reaction hit instantly. Names like Freddie Gibbs, Boozy, Asian Doll, Finesse 2 times, and of course 6ix9ine jumped into the conversation fast. And 6ix9ine, he didn't ease up at all. He doubled down heavy on Instagram, tossing cash at Gucci's photo and posting side-by-side comparisons of those old never snitch posts next to the new lyrics. Gucci Mane, though, stayed quiet when it came to saying 6ix9ine's name directly. But that silence only made everything louder around him. Now you've got the timeline, but that only shows the order of events. What really matters is what actually went down inside that studio. The FBI affidavit didn't just summarize it. It rebuilt the whole situation minute by minute using surveillance footage, phone data, and witness statements. So what really happened inside that studio on January 10th, 2026? Before getting into those details, there's something important to understand about who Gucci Mane was in that room. Charlemagne the God, who had known Gucci since around 2004 and interviewed him years later, once described him in a way that stuck across his entire career. That description fits the exact man who walked into that Dallas studio thinking it was just another business meeting. This is someone who had lived through shootings, serious legal battles, addiction struggles, and federal prison, and still came out building a full 1017 empire, with that ice cream cone tattoo becoming part of his image. By every account, he wasn't known as someone people would casually try to test. And yet, that's exactly where things shifted. January 10th, 2026, Dallas Parkway, a recording space identified in reports as Luminous Studios, run by someone referred to in court documents as JN. Gucci arrived with his team, 2 business associates listed as M, and BP, along with 2 security guards, CW and TD, both former Detroit police officers who had flown in from out of state. They pulled up around 1:45 p.m., only to find the studio closed. So they waited it out, hit a nearby liquor store, came back, poured drinks into red Solo cups, had a game on the screen. Everything looked normal on the surface. But behind the scenes, something else was already in motion. At around 2:53 p.m., Trell Williams Sr., the father of Pootie, started making calls to the studio owners, setting things up. He framed it like a standard session, saying Gucci Mane and Williams Jr. were coming through to record music. By 3:15 p.m., the studio doors were open, and by 3:43 p.m., that's when everything changed, because all 9 suspects had entered the building through the east side, setting the stage for what was about to unfold. What Gucci walked into that day wasn't a normal meeting. It was a setup, plain and simple. And the diss track he dropped later, it lined up with that version of events in a way that made everything feel even more real. According to reports, 6ix9ine pulled Gucci aside into a private recording room, and that's where things shifted fast. Trell Williams Sr. and Big 30 followed right behind them, closing the space in tight. Inside that room, things got serious quick. 6ix9ine allegedly brought out pre-prepared contract termination papers and demanded Gucci sign them on the spot. Gucci refused, and that's when the tension spiked. The argument escalated, voices rising, pressure building. Then 6ix9ine told Big 30 to grab his bag. And that's when it turned into something way bigger. Big 30 came back holding a black AK-style pistol described as a Draco, and the situation instantly flipped. Reports say the weapon was pointed directly at Gucci's head, forcing the moment into something nobody could ignore. Under that pressure, Gucci signed the paperwork. It didn't stop there. Big 30 allegedly filmed the whole thing, pushing Gucci to say on camera that he was releasing 6ix9ine from the contract. Then William Sr. stepped in, demanding the document be dated, and Gucci added the date while still under pressure. At the same time, chaos was unfolding in the rest of the studio. Investigators say 6ix9ine took Gucci's personal items, his wedding ring, watch, earrings, and cash. In the control room, another person, identified as BP, was forced onto a couch while his wallet and chain were taken, with threats being made during the situation. Another individual, MM, was reportedly grabbed from behind and choked until nearly unconscious. Photos of injuries to his neck and wrist were later included in the official complaint. His Rolex, a Louis Vuitton bag filled with watches, AirPods, and his wallet were all taken too. And inside that bag were Apple AirTags that would later play a key role in tracking everything. Near the front, Big 30 allegedly blocked the lobby door with his body. Security guards CW and TD tried to step in, but once they saw how many people were involved and the weapons, they backed off. Gucci reportedly told them straight up they were outnumbered and outmatched. By around 4:48 p.m., it was over. The group left the scene in 3 separate vehicles: a white Buick Enclave, a black Dodge Charger Hellcat, and a black Dodge Ram with a roll bar. But the trail didn't disappear. Those AirTags led investigators straight to areas near Plano and Frisco, Texas, tying pieces of the situation together step by step. Months later, when Gucci dropped his track, it carried the weight of that moment without needing to spell everything out. It was all in the energy. And when Big Meech was asked about the situation, his response stayed calm. But he made it clear exactly where the line gets drawn when it comes to situations like this. At the April 8th detention hearing, the defense came in pushing hard. Their argument? Simple but bold. No recovered contract, no video of the forced signing, no firearms, and none of the stolen jewelry presented in court. Attorney Bradford Cohen even called the alleged contract a mystery, raising eyebrows about the 3-month gap between the incident and the arrests. He made it clear outside the courthouse too, saying, the FBI doesn't take 3 months to arrest someone if they believe everything that was said on the night that it occurred.
All right, so now y'all believe me? I've been literally saying this 5 years. I'm about to break it down for you.
That statement hit, but it didn't change the outcome. The judge still denied bond without hesitation. And that's where things started to get deeper, because the question people immediately started asking wasn't if it happened, it was why it happened. What kind of tension builds up to the point where an artist, once seen as a top name under a label, shows up with a group and things spiral into something this serious? That's not random. That points to something bigger underneath. The answer being talked about everywhere? A contract dispute that never got resolved the right way. And if you want to understand the motive behind everything, that's where you have to look. The FBI complaint keeps it short and direct, stating that Pooh Shiesty was unhappy with the terms of his deal and wanted out of his contractual obligations. That's the only officially confirmed reason tied to what happened inside that studio. But behind that one line is a much longer story. Years of pressure building between an artist whose career kept growing even while locked up, and a deal that people around the industry described as heavily favoring the label. 6ix9ine signed to Gucci's 1017 Records around 2020 through a joint venture with Atlantic Records. Then Back in Blood with Lil Durk took things to another level, giving him a real breakout moment that pushed his name everywhere. But just as things were rising, legal issues hit. A federal firearms case out of the Southern District of Florida led to him being locked up from 2022 through late 2025. While he was inside, his music didn't slow down. Streams kept climbing, his name stayed hot, and the momentum kept building. But he reportedly had no real control over how any of it was handled. So when he got out, he came back to a deal he allegedly saw as restrictive. There was talk in the industry, never confirmed in court, that other labels were interested, but he couldn't move because of his contract with 1017. And on the other side, Gucci reportedly wasn't looking to let him go easily. No buyout, no smooth exit, nothing simple. Even breakdowns of Gucci's own diss track touched on this. What he felt he had done for 6ix9ine, and how he viewed the situation as a serious betrayal. There was more than just business tension behind all this. There was something personal too, and it cut deep. Big Scar, 6ix9ine's cousin and a fellow 1017 artist, passed away in December 2022, and that loss didn't just fade away. Reports and commentary that spread online claimed 6ix9ine had pushed from jail for Gucci to help cover funeral costs. At first, Gucci was said to have held back before eventually contributing, and that delay, it reportedly didn't sit right with 6ix9ine at all. Big Scar's father even spoke on it, hinting that something between them had broken. He said, "Gucci did what he did. 100 is 100. I just want what rightfully belonged to my son." That statement alone showed there was more going on beneath the surface than people first realized. So when 6ix9ine came home, he wasn't just dealing with business, he was carrying everything with him. The tension, the losses, the frustration, it all built up. He set up what looked like a normal meeting. Gucci showed up expecting a real conversation about business. But according to the case, 6ix9ine came prepared in a completely different way, with multiple people, rented vehicles, pre-printed contract release papers, and a plan that had no real legal standing from the start. Because here's the reality. Any agreement signed under force doesn't hold up. Contracts signed under pressure like that can be thrown out due to duress and coercion, making the whole situation even more complicated. Gucci's diss track didn't hide from that comparison either. It leaned into it. He referenced 6ix9ine directly, and that connection wasn't random. Back in the early 90s, Suge was accused of using intimidation to get Eazy-E to release Dr. Dre from Ruthless Records, a moment that became one of the most talked about power moves in hip-hop history. But this time, the era is different, and the outcome looks very different too. Gucci made his stance clear in the track. The paperwork didn't mean anything, and legal breakdowns online backed that up, pointing out that the contract wouldn't stand. So where things sit right now, Gucci is still the head of 1017, and 6ix9ine is still tied to that deal. Instead of a clean exit, the situation turned into a federal case, with serious charges that could carry major consequences. 6ix9ine's attorney, John Helms, pushed back after the arrest, saying, "The government tries to characterize this as a dispute over money between Trell and his record label, but in this business, things are very often not what they seem. We will be presenting Montrell's side of the case as the case goes on, and I think it's going to be significantly different from what the government says." So the legal fight is far from over. It's still unfolding step by step. But culturally, the reaction came fast and it hit hard. Not because anyone supported what allegedly happened, but because of how Gucci responded after it all went down. The fallout, the track Crash Dummy, the industry reactions. It all turned this into something bigger than just one incident, and people are still debating what it really means. The kidnapping case, the federal charges, 6ix9ine trolling nonstop, the internet piling on, and people in the streets calling his name in ways they never did before. It all got answered with one move, a 3-minute record. Gucci teased it on Instagram April 9th, then dropped it right at midnight on April 10th, 2026, exactly 3 months after what went down at Luminous Studios. The timing wasn't random, it was calculated. He called it Crash Dummy, and he brought in Zaytoven, the same producer behind the sound that helped define Gucci's early run. Those piano keys, the clean 808s, that classic East Atlanta trap energy was all over it, like he was tapping back into his roots while addressing something brand new. Right from the start, the track hits with a sharp line that works as both a diss and a statement. And when he brings up Birdman, it's not just for style. That reference is loaded. Birdman held onto his artist through years of drama and legal battles, and Gucci is drawing a straight line between that and his own situation. The message? Clear. He's still the CEO, still in control, and no pressure in that studio changed the paperwork in a real legal sense. The person who allegedly tried to force their way out, still tied to the label. And when you look at the bigger picture, that's where it gets heavy. Because instead of breaking free, the situation turned into a federal case with multiple people now facing serious charges. Gucci doesn't keep it vague on the track either. He describes the studio moment with details that line up closely with what was outlined in the FBI complaint, making it feel less like music and more like a direct response. He throws shots at Big 30, your fat ass flunky. He a stone cold junkie, keeping it raw and personal. Then he goes even deeper, aiming at 6ix9ine's father with, "They smile in your face, then they stab you in your back. You learn from your daddy, so I guess that it's hereditary." By the time the track closes, one theme stands above everything: betrayal. Not just personal, but business too. And tied into all of that is the legal weight behind what happened and what didn't actually hold up. But the reaction? Immediate, and not exactly in Gucci's favor. Freddie Gibbs jumped in early saying, "And a snitched on a Zaytoven beat. That's crazy." Then Boosie added his own take and reactions kept stacking up.
I got a question. If Big Meech gets robbed and has to report it to the police, talk to the police about him being robbed.
I would never do that.
I
wouldn't never talk to the police about getting robbed.
Yeah, it is.
Boozy Badaz didn't hold back either, saying on stream, getting robbed by your artist, making a police report, then dissing the Nana Yo for robbing you. This is crazy. Finesse 2 times came through with one of the toughest reactions out of everybody. He said, I know why Shetty robbed you if he did. Cause he ain't think you were gonna tell on him, fool. He thought you was street like I did. That line hit hard and spread fast. Asian Doll didn't hold back either. She posted Free Pooh Shiesty, then followed it up with Big 30 our Snitch K, taking direct aim at the situation. The reactions kept stacking and the tone stayed intense. Waka Flocka made it clear he wanted no part in it. He shut it down quick, saying, man, y'all out your mind if you think I'ma celebrate WAP situation. None of my business. He stepped back completely, distancing himself from the noise. Rick Ross took a more balanced angle. He said, Goo-Wop most definitely didn't deserve that. But this is where one's gotta be educated and understanding business. You gotta negotiate. You can't muscle your way. He wasn't picking sides. He was pointing at the bigger lesson behind it all. Then Big Meech got asked directly, and his response? Straight to the point, no confusion behind it. Through all of this, Gucci hasn't said a single word about 6ix9ine. No live streams, no direct statements, no back and forth online. His only response has been the music, Crash Dummy, and that's it. But here's where the situation gets complicated. Because despite everything being said online, there's no official claim in court filings, DOJ statements, or FBI records labeling Gucci Mane as a cooperating witness or confidential informant. In the legal documents, he's identified as a victim, someone who reported a violent incident the same night it happened. And legally, that's a completely different situation from what 6ix9ine did in 2018, where he testified in court as part of his own case. That difference matters, but the conversation online doesn't always separate the two. And what really adds another layer to this? Gucci himself once spoke about a moment during his own prison time when federal prosecutors tried to flip him. He described being brought into a room, sitting face to face with federal agents as they made their pitch, trying to get him to cooperate. He even described how he responded when federal prosecutors tried to flip him, and it wasn't some long speech or big moment. He said he went to sleep. That was it. That was his answer when the feds sat him down and made their offer. He literally fell asleep in the room. That's the same Gucci Mane who walked into Dallas on January 10th, 2026. A man who once chose prison over cooperating when the pressure was on him directly, and now found himself in a situation where everything flipped around. Because at the core of all this, the real clash 6ix9ine is pushing isn't just about Gucci Mane as a person. It's about the idea that the street code in rap was ever applied the same way to everybody. He said it himself on Aden Ross's stream, no hesitation at all. As soon as they put 5, 10, 15 year, 20 years to life on my head, I'm snitching on everybody. That line says everything about where he stands. So in his eyes, the difference isn't the actions, it's the honesty. He's saying he admitted what he would do, while the rest of the culture stood on something different until real pressure showed up. Meanwhile, the legal situation is still ongoing. The case is in pre-trial right now, no trial date has been locked in, and every defendant is still presumed innocent unless proven guilty in court. Pooh Shiesty remains in federal custody without bond. Gucci Mane is still running 1017 Records, and Pootie is still signed to the label. And 6ix9ine, he's not slowing down. He keeps posting, keeps talking, and keeps the spotlight right where he wants it. If you've been locked in this whole breakdown, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who's been following the story. And drop a comment saying, if you made it all the way through, there's more content waiting for you right on your screen.